People have been asking me to do videos where I talk about more than one game, and I've given it some thought. I don't have a huge collection that you haven't seen, but I did come up with 5 games that are card-based games that I play often and enjoy a lot and are in my gaming rotation, but which I wouldn't ever do videos about. And in most cases, it's simply because there are so many great videos out there already about these games. I don't think I have much to contribute or add, but I can offer some thoughts about why I like these games and why perhaps you might like them too if you're watching this channel and you don't already like these games. Maybe you'll be inspired to check them out further. They are sort of in order, sort of not, and I'll talk about that when I talk about the 5 games that are card-based. We'll call them card games for the purposes of this video, that I enjoy and play regularly, but which I would not do an individual video about. Number 5 is Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, the Skull and Shackles base set. I also have a couple of the adventure packs here. I've got Tempest Rising. I think I've played that one, and at least one, number 3, I think. Well, that is number 3. Well, I have one that I haven't played. I enjoy this game because it's light. It's probably the lightest game that I play regularly, and certainly the lightest game in this video. I can also play it solo, where I manage 4 characters or so, which gives me enough to think about. I can get my family into it, including some people in my family who aren't gamers. It's a pretty basic mechanic, and the artwork is serviceable, and there's a Kuru monster, and it does take, here's a crab swarm. I like this one because it's pretty thematic in that everybody has to deal with it. The downsides to it is that it does take a little bit of time to set up. You have to populate your various locations with the cards, and if you don't enjoy doing that, it would not be a game for you, because there's a little bit of management that goes into it before you can actually start playing. And when I sort of host it, as it were, with my family, what I will do is just to get them into it, I will set it all up myself beforehand, and there are a great number of cards, which I'll just show you here, to put through with the locations, and then you need to choose the various adventure path that you're going on and set up the characters and populate the character deck. So there's a bit of that, but you could do that for the other people that are playing if they're just simply interested in the mechanic. If I'm playing by myself, that's part of the enjoyment. Well, even if I'm not, that's part of the enjoyment for me. It's a pretty simple game, at least as far as the range of games I talk about on this channel, and it is a theme that I don't really have in my collection aside from Blackbeard, which is a game that I have covered, but I enjoy the pirate theme. I probably would get the mummy theme in this series if it came to me in an easy trade or something like that. Not really interested in the base set, because I think that common fantasy theme is just done, I play that a lot in other venues. But overall, Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, while simple in a lot of ways, is something that I can play managing 4 characters for my own brain activity, and also play with family and friends who aren't necessarily gamers. That's number 5. Coming in at number 4 is Warfighter by DVG Games, and this is the Tactical Special Forces card game, the 2nd edition, 2014 date, the Modern Warfare. There has been released since this a World War II version of it. This is a game I really enjoy because a big component of it at the outset is choosing you the men and women that will be going on your mission and assigning them their cards, their equipment, and their cards or their action cards that they can do and take, and managing how many points you have. I can't remember what they're called in the game, but you're given a certain number of points to spend to outfit the mission, and making the decisions early on about, for example, if you have somebody who's a sniper, what kinds of weapons and equipment you will give that person, and what other people you will bring along with to help out. Are you bringing a medic? Are you not? How are you allocating the available weaponry? It follows a similar mechanic. If you've watched my video on Rise of the Zombies or Frontline, D-Day Frontline D-Day, it's the same type of game mechanic where you are moving through by pulling location cards and then populating them with, in this case, the various enemies that you'll be encountering. That you may be choosing, say, for example, a Middle Eastern theme, or here's an example of there's equipment cards, and you get, they call it situation reports, the scenario that you are trying to complete, and the mission that you're trying to complete. This is a game where I die often and in various different ways, and I still enjoy it when that happens. I'm honestly not sure. I guess I've successfully completed maybe 1 or 2 missions that I've tried to do, but it's a tough game for me, and it's probably due to the bad choices I make at the beginning, but I love games where there is the component of putting together your forces in whatever capacity to travel through and move through the game, because on some level, if you are, even though it's card-based and random, if you find yourself lacking something that you could have foreseen you would have needed, and obviously you can't foresee everything, you only have yourself to blame. So it mitigates some of the randomness in that way. This is something that comes in and out of my rotation with regularity. It takes up a lot of table space, but the setup isn't too bad. Again, you're spending a lot of time, or at least I'm spending a lot of time, mission to put the forces together, and I just really, really enjoy that aspect of this game. So that's number 4, Warfighter from DVG. Number 3 is Arkham Horror, the card game, and this is probably the most integrated thematic narrative game on this list. Not probably, definitely, in terms of how the mechanics work and every aspect of the card play to create a story. I have both the base game, and I bought the Dunwich Legacy because I felt that the base game wasn't quite robust enough. I will say that I'm not somebody who's going to be continually upgrading with various packs. I have 2 of the one-offs that were offered, and maybe along the way I would tell someone if they wanted to give me a present, I would tell them sort of where I was, but I don't really need that in this game, because what I do have now that I have the second full expansion is enough variability with the characters to play out various scenarios and feel that the game is different enough every time I play it. And the reason that it's maybe number 3 on this list and not number 1, if the criteria, which I guess loosely is how many times I play it or how easy it is to play, is that there is a fair amount of setup, and of course that is part of the game. Just looking here, not much to really show you without unpacking a whole lot, but to set up the individual, to choose your characters, I usually play with 2, and I always play this solo. To play and decide which characters I'm using, to build their decks, and to keep track. I keep track of sort of the experience that they've gained if I'm moving through adventures, but I'm really not a stickler for that, and I'll just kind of look up in the book what experience I would have gotten if I'm building a new deck with different characters to move through to a different adventure pack. But that takes a fair amount of time just to set it up, and of course that is part of the game, but it does require much more of an investment of time. It's not something I can just sort of take in and out quickly to get a quick play in, even if I'm working with the same characters and setting them up, because to set up the individual adventures takes some time. There's a great deal of variability. The only thing I didn't like about this game, and I mentioned this when I touched on this in one of my channel updates, was the chaos bag, which I really detest, and everybody was saying, well, you should put those tokens in some coin holders and it makes them easier to pull out with more true randomness, and I just still do not like that mechanic. I don't want to be reaching into a bag and pulling something out to create something random, so I do need to just take a d20 and make a little chart for myself based on the difficulty level. Once I started to do that, I felt a lot better about the game, because that little detail was putting me off of it for a while. But Arkham Horror, the card game, it's a great foray into the Lovecraft world, and I rank this number 3 on the card-based games that are in my rotation and I play with regularity. That's number 3. And coming in at number 2 is Sentinels of the Multiverse card game. I really, really love this game. It takes up my whole dining room table when I play it, usually with 4 characters and usually with my oldest kid. But it is just a fantastic, don't talk to me now, I'm thinking kind of thing sort of game. And it is wonderful, from the components to the organization, the nice organization that they give you here to keep everything tidy. I just have this set. I would love to get Rook City or Infernal Relics. Those are kind of on my radar, but there is plenty here in terms of the various environments and the enemies and, of course, the heroes that you are playing. I also like the fact that the rulebook is, and the overall, I'm not sure what that is, that the overall message of the game, I guess, is to sort of have this madcap kind of fun, and it obviously is clear in the art direction and even in the way the rule book is put together, and this really easy sequence of play that's quite simple, and the complexity comes in, of course, with all the modifications and the tokens that you're going to be using, and again, you know, playing it with somebody and having all the conversation back and forth with who's going to do what and when and how are we going to inflict the damage. I will say that usually we win. Sometimes it's close. I don't know whether that makes the game broken in some way. It doesn't for me, but I do have a sense that maybe all the time we win. I don't know. Sometimes it's just a matter of being closer than others, but I enjoy this game immensely. Playing by myself, running 4 characters, is also, again, one of those experiences where you just find, or I just find, that the time is just passing without my realizing it at all. And it is a great experience. I like seeing my whole dining room table laid out with all the cards and the colors and the tokens, and it's just immersive, and it touches on something, comic books and larger than life, heroic actions that speak to me just outside of the gaming world, and putting it into a game, putting it into a card game, it's fantastic. And the only reason I don't play it more is because of the table space it takes up and the fact that I prefer to play it with my oldest, and she's not always available. That's number 2, Sentinels of the Multiverse. Coming in at number 1 as the card-based game that is in and out of my gaming closet the most is Race for the Galaxy with the Gathering Storm expansion. I absolutely adore this game. I think it offers, for the time you can get a game in, which for me, now that I know the rules, is maybe, I don't know, 30 to 40 minutes for sure. For that amount of time, it offers the most in-depth, kind of puzzly, thinky, immersive experience of any game that I have, and for that reason, it's number 1 on this list. I like pretty much everything about it. I am, as you could tell if you watch my channel, very interested just generically in anything science fiction to start with. I enjoy the art. I enjoy the mechanics of the game. Once you learn the iconography, I think the game makes a lot of sense. It comes with a relatively small footprint also, which for me is always a benefit, and a lot of my gaming time is very early in the morning, which is also something you would probably realize if you watch my channel. So if I'm at my desk early in the morning and I have 30 or 40 minutes to kill and it's like 5 o'clock and dark out, and I'm putting this out on the table and really just getting into the whole environment of the game, it offers different ways of playing based on the starting planets that you come to begin with and what the AI ends up with. The game can play very differently. I have not felt the need to purchase any of the expansions for it, and I've played this game dozens and dozens of times, and I still feel that it offers something different, and just every experience I have with it is really enjoyable to me. Sometimes I lose, sometimes I win, and it doesn't matter to me. The AI, I think, does play differently. There's a bit of a learning curve to getting into this game because of all the iconography and the seemingly confusing AI, I think. But once you have it down, it's the kind of thing that I think, at least for me, it sticks with me. It's also a game where when you finish a turn, if I get interrupted, I can just kind of leave it and come back to it. And with the way that I play, even with the short game that this offers, sometimes that happens. So that's always a benefit. So those are the top 5 games that I play on a regular basis that I have not done videos on and will not do individual videos on. And I mention that here again to remind you, some of you may be saying, like, well, where's Mage Knight, for example, if you consider that a card game, as I do. And that's because I've done a video on Mage Knight, and ditto Mistfall, Heart of the Mists, which would be 2 other games that would fall into that category. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments whether there was something that you were surprised to see on this list or something that you thought would be on this list that is not here. And as always, thanks for watching.